You already know enough to make money. Your problem is not your lack of knowledge. Your problem is discipline. And until you understand what discipline truly means in trading, you will continue to struggle. I've spent decades helping traders understand why they fail, not because they lack intelligence, not because they don't work hard, but because they don't understand the psychological game they're playing. Today, I want to talk to you about discipline. Real discipline, not the kind you think you have. Not the kind you promise yourself you'll use tomorrow. The kind that separates consistent winners from everyone else. Here's a truth that will make you uncomfortable. Most of the traders I've worked with already had profitable strategies. They had systems that worked. They had edges that could make money, but they still lost. Why? Because knowing what to do and actually doing it are two completely different things. You see, the market does not care how many books you've read. It does not care how smart you are. It does not care how badly you need to win. The market rewards one thing only: consistent execution. And consistent execution requires discipline. Think about it. How many times have you violated your own rules? How many times have you told yourself, just this once? How many times have you known exactly what you should do, but done the opposite? That's not a strategy problem. That's a discipline problem. And no amount of technical analysis will fix it. This is hard for many people to accept, especially smart people. You've been rewarded your entire life for being intelligent. You've been told that hard work pays off. You've been taught that if you study enough, you'll succeed. But the market doesn't work that way. The market doesn't care about your effort. It doesn't care that you stayed up all night studying charts. It doesn't care that you're desperate to make this work. The market only cares about one thing. Did you follow your rules or not? I've seen brilliant people fail at trading. Doctors, engineers, lawyers, professors. People who succeeded in every other area of their lives. But they failed in trading because they couldn't accept uncertainty. They couldn't accept that being right doesn't always mean making money. They couldn't accept that sometimes you do everything correctly and still lose. And so they kept trying to control what cannot be controlled. They kept trying to be right instead of trying to be consistent, and they lost. Let me be very clear about something. Discipline in trading is not what most people think it is. It's not about forcing yourself to do things. It's not about gritting your teeth and trying harder. It's not about willpower. Real discipline in trading means something very specific. It means executing your rules even when every emotion in your body is screaming at you to do something else. It means taking the trade when you're afraid. It means cutting the loss when you're hoping. It means walking away when you've hit your daily limit, even when you're convinced the next trade will be the winner. It means accepting uncertainty as a fundamental condition of trading. Let me explain what I mean by that. Every single trade you take is uncertain. You do not know if this particular trade will win or lose. You cannot know. No matter how good your analysis is, no matter how perfect the setup looks, you do not know what will happen next. And if you cannot accept that, you will never be disciplined. Because the need to know, the need to be right, the need to control the outcome will drive you to break your rules. You'll move your stop loss because you don't want to be wrong. You'll add to a losing position because you're sure it will turn around. You'll take profits too early because you're afraid of giving them back. All of these behaviors come from the same source: the inability to accept uncertainty. Discipline means acting consistently over a series of trades. Not trying to make every trade a winner. Not trying to avoid every loss. But executing the same process over and over, regardless of the outcome of any individual trade. That's discipline. And it's the only thing that works. Most traders don't even realize when they're being undisciplined. They think discipline only means following their entry rules, but discipline breaks down in many ways. Let me describe some of them. Maybe you'll recognize yourself. Revenge trading. This is when you take a loss and immediately jump back into the market to get your money back. You're not following your plan. You're following your emotions. You're trying to prove something to the market. And the market doesn't care about your ego. Increasing position size emotionally. This is when you've had a few winners and you feel invincible. Or when you've had a few losers and you feel desperate. Either way, you increase your risk beyond what your plan allows. This is not confidence. This is lack of discipline. Taking trades outside your plan. The setup isn't quite there. But it feels right. So you take it anyway. And when it loses, you tell yourself it was just bad luck. But it wasn't bad luck. It was a violation of your rules. Skipping trades when you're afraid. Your setup appears. Your rules say take the trade. But you're afraid because the last 3 trades lost, so you skip it. And of course, that's the one that would have been a big winner. This is also lack of discipline. Fear of taking profits. Your plan says exit here, but you're greedy. You want more. So you hold. And the profit turns into a loss. This happens over and over. Because you cannot follow the exit rule. Holding on to losing trades with hope. This is the most common one. Your stop loss is hit. Your plan says exit, but you don't want to accept the loss. So you hold and hope and pray. And the small loss becomes a big loss. All of these behaviors have one thing in common. You know what you're supposed to do, but you don't do it. That's the definition of undisciplined trading. Here's something most people don't want to hear. If you lack discipline in your daily life, you'll lack discipline in your trading. If you're inconsistent with your habits, you'll be inconsistent with your trading. If you quit things when they get hard, you'll quit trading when it gets hard. If you take shortcuts in other areas, you'll take shortcuts in trading. It reflects back to you exactly who you are, not who you wish you were, not who you pretend to be, who you actually are. Think about your life outside of trading. Do you follow through on commitments? Do you stick to healthy habits even when you don't feel like it? Do you do the work when no one is watching? Or do you make excuses? Do you blame others when things go wrong? Do you look for the easy way out? I'm not judging you. I'm asking you to be honest with yourself. Because the patterns in your life will show up in your trading. If you're impatient in life, you'll be impatient in trading. You'll exit winners too early. You'll enter trades before the setup completes. You'll switch strategies before giving them time to work. If you avoid difficult conversations in life, you'll avoid difficult decisions in trading. You won't cut losses. You won't admit when you're wrong. You won't face the truth about your performance. The market doesn't change you, it reveals you. And if you don't like what you see, trading will be painful until you change. Now let me tell you why most attempts at discipline fail. People think discipline is about willpower. They think if they just try harder, they'll be able to follow their rules. But willpower always fails. Always, because willpower is a limited resource. You can force yourself to do something for a while. You take the revenge trade, you move the stop, you violate the plan. And then you feel guilty. You promise yourself you'll do better tomorrow. But the same cycle repeats. Why? Because you're using the wrong tool. Discipline does not come from force, it comes from belief. Let me explain what I mean. If you truly believe that your edge only exists over a series of trades, you will not be emotionally attached to any single trade. If you truly believe that losses are simply the cost of doing business, you will not fear them. If you truly believe that following your rules is the only thing that matters, you will not break them. The problem is not that you lack willpower. The problem is that you don't actually believe these things. You say you believe them, but your behavior shows otherwise. This is what I call thinking in probabilities. When you think in probabilities, you understand that anything can happen on any individual trade. You understand that even a trade with a 70% win rate will lose 30% of the time. And you understand that you have no way of knowing which trades will be winners and which will be losers. So you stop trying to predict, you stop trying to control, you simply execute. Over and over. Because you know that if you execute enough times, the probabilities will work in your favor. But if you don't truly believe this, you will keep trying to make every trade a winner. You will keep trying to avoid every loss. And you will keep breaking your rules. Discipline, real discipline, comes from aligning your beliefs with the reality of trading. Once your beliefs change, your behavior changes automatically. You don't need to force yourself. You simply act in accordance with what you know to be true. So how do you build this kind of discipline? You build it through structure. You build it through systems. You remove the opportunity for emotional decision-making. Let me give you some examples. Predefined entry rules. You know exactly what conditions must be met before you take a trade. Not "it looks good." Not "I have a feeling." Exact, objective criteria. When those criteria are met, you take the trade. When they're not, you don't. No exceptions, no interpretation, no flexibility, predefined exits. You know before you enter the trade where your stop loss is. You know where your profit target is. You don't move them. You don't hope. You don't pray. You set them and you honor them every single time. Fixed risk per trade. You risk the same percentage of your account on every trade. Not more when you're confident. Not less when you're afraid. The same amount, every time. This removes the temptation to gamble. Maximum trades per day. You have a limit. Maybe it's 3 trades, maybe it's 5. But once you hit that limit, you're done. Even if you see another setup. Even if you're sure it's a winner, you're done. This prevents over-trading. It prevents revenge trading. It keeps you disciplined. Why does this work? Because structure removes choice. And when you remove choice, you remove emotion. You're not deciding in the moment whether to take the trade. You're simply following the rules. You're not deciding how much to risk. It's already decided. You're not deciding when to stop for the day. The system decides for you. This is how you build discipline. Not through willpower, but through systems that don't require willpower. One of the most important things I can teach you is this. Losses are not personal. They are not a reflection of your intelligence. They are not a sign of failure. Losses are simply the cost of doing business. Think about any business. A restaurant has to buy ingredients. Some of those ingredients will spoil. That's a cost. A retail store has to stock inventory. Some of that inventory won't sell. That's a cost. In trading, losses are your cost. They are the price you pay to participate in the game. And if you cannot accept them, you cannot trade successfully. Winning traders expect losses. They know that even with a good edge, many trades will lose, and they're okay with that. They don't get angry. They don't get discouraged. They don't question their ability. They simply move on to the next trade. Because they understand that the edge only exists over a series of trades, not on any individual trade. But most traders take losses personally. A loss means they were wrong. And being wrong feels bad. So they do everything they can to avoid being wrong. They move stops. They add to losers. They hold and hope. All in an attempt to not be wrong. But in doing so, they guarantee failure. Because you cannot avoid losses in trading. You can only manage them. And managing them means accepting them, calmly, without emotion, as a necessary part of the process. You stop trying to control it. You simply execute your plan and let the probabilities work. Let me talk about something that doesn't get discussed enough. Bad days. Every trader has them. Days when nothing works. Days when every trade seems to go against you. Days when you feel like you've forgotten how to trade. These days will happen. The question is not whether they will happen. The question is what you do when they happen. This is where discipline really shows itself. Because on a bad day, your emotions will be screaming at you. They'll tell you to keep trading, to get your money back, to prove you're not a bad trader. But the disciplined trader does the opposite. The disciplined trader recognizes when discipline has broken and stops. This is one of the most professional decisions you can make. Stopping when you know you're not in the right state of mind. Not because you're weak, but because you're protecting your capital and protecting your psychology. Let me give you some guidelines. If you've hit your maximum number of losing trades for the day, stop. Don't take one more. Don't try to end the day on a winner. Stop. If you notice yourself becoming emotional, stop. Anger, frustration, desperation, these are all signals. Your rational mind is no longer in control. Stop trading. If you violate a rule, stop. Don't punish yourself. Don't promise to do better on the next trade. Stop for the day, reflect on what happened, and come back tomorrow with a clear mind. Another option is to reduce size. If you're having a rough day, but you're still following your rules, you can continue trading, but cut your position size in half. This allows you to stay engaged without risking significant capital while you're struggling. The key is this. Professionals protect their mindset first, money second, because they know that if their mindset is damaged, they will lose money anyway. But if they protect their mindset, they can always make money back. Amateur traders do the opposite. They keep trading when they're emotional. They keep trading when they're tilted. They keep trading because they don't want to give up. And they destroy their accounts. Don't be that trader. Be the trader who knows when to walk away. Now I want to talk about one of the most powerful tools you can use, journaling. But not the kind of journaling most traders do. Most traders journal their trades. They write down entry, exit, profit, loss. That's useful, but it's not enough. You need to journal your emotions. You need to journal your state of mind before, during, and after each trade. Because your emotions are the data that matter most. Ask yourself these questions after every trade. Did I follow my rules completely? If yes, good. If no, why not? What was I feeling when I entered the trade? Confident? Afraid? Desperate? Bored? What was I feeling when I exited the trade? Relieved? Greedy? Disappointed? Did I experience any fear during the trade? Did I think about moving my stop? Did I think about exiting early? Did I experience any greed? Did I think about adding to the position? Did I think about holding longer than my plan? Write all of this down. Be radically honest with yourself. No one else will see this journal. This is between you and you. And over time, you will see patterns. You will see that you always get greedy after 2 winning trades. You will see that you always get fearful after a loss. You will see that you always violate your rules when you're bored. These patterns are invisible until you write them down. But once you see them, you can address them. You can create rules to protect yourself from your own patterns. For example, if you know you get greedy after 2 winners, your rule can be to reduce size on the 3rd trade. If you know you get fearful after a loss, your rule can be to take a break before the next trade. Self-honesty is the foundation of growth. And journaling is the tool that makes self-honesty possible. Don't skip this step. It's more important than any indicator. More important than any strategy. Because it's the step that changes you as a trader. Here's something no one wants to talk about. Trading is not for everyone. And sometimes, the most disciplined decision you can make is to quit. Not because you're weak. Not because you're a failure. But because you've honestly assessed yourself and recognized that you cannot follow the rules. I've worked with traders who simply could not accept losses. No matter how much they understood intellectually, emotionally they could not handle being wrong. I've worked with traders who could not stop gambling. They understood probabilities. They understood risk management. But they could not resist the urge to go big. I've worked with traders who needed to be right more than they needed to make money. And no amount of coaching could change that. For these people, trading was not the right path. And recognizing that is not failure, it's wisdom. It's self-awareness. It's discipline of the highest order. Because it takes courage to admit that something isn't for you. It takes courage to walk away from something you've invested time and money into. But sometimes, that's the right decision. If you find that you cannot follow your rules, no matter how hard you try, ask yourself this question. Am I trying to make trading fit me? Or am I willing to change to fit trading? Because trading requires certain psychological qualities: patience, discipline, emotional detachment, acceptance of uncertainty. If you do not have these qualities, and you are not willing to develop them, trading will be painful. It will cost you money. It will cost you emotional energy. And it will never give you what you're looking for. On the other hand, if you recognize your weaknesses and you're willing to do the work to change, trading can be one of the most rewarding endeavors you ever undertake. Not because of the money, but because of who you become in the process. The choice is yours, but make it honestly. Let me tell you what happens when you commit to discipline. When you commit to following your rules, no matter what. When you commit to accepting uncertainty. When you commit to thinking in probabilities, you change. Not just as a trader, as a person. Because the qualities that make you a successful trader are the same qualities that make you successful in life. Patience, the ability to wait for the right opportunity instead of forcing things. Calmness, the ability to remain centered even when things are chaotic. Consistency, the ability to do the right thing over and over, even when it's boring. Emotional detachment, the ability to separate your self-worth from your outcomes. The market teaches you these things, but only if you're willing to learn. Only if you're willing to be humbled. Only if you're willing to let go of your ego and your need to be right. The market rewards patience. It punishes impatience. The market rewards calmness. It punishes emotional reactions. The market rewards consistency. It punishes randomness. Every day, the market gives you feedback. And if you're paying attention, you'll realize that the feedback is not really about your strategy. It's about you. Are you patient? Are you disciplined? Are you honest with yourself? The market is the ultimate feedback mechanism. It shows you exactly where you are in your development. And if you're willing to accept that feedback without defensiveness, without excuses, you will grow. You will become a better trader. And you will become a better person. Let me bring this all together. Discipline is the bridge between where you are and where you want to be. You want consistency. You want to make money over time. You want to feel confident in your trading. The only way to get there is through discipline, not through a better strategy. Not through more knowledge, not through harder work. Through discipline. Following your rules, even when it's hard. Accepting losses even when they hurt. Staying consistent, even when you're bored. Protecting your mindset, even when you're tempted to keep going. This is the path. There is no shortcut. There is no hack. There is no secret. Just discipline. Day after day. Trade after trade. And here's what most people don't understand. Discipline doesn't feel restrictive. It feels freeing. When you have discipline, you stop worrying. You stop second-guessing. You stop hoping and fearing. You simply execute. And there's a peace in that, a confidence, a freedom. Because you know that as long as you follow your process, you're doing everything you can do. The outcome of any individual trade doesn't matter. What matters is that you executed correctly. And over time, over a series of trades, the probabilities will work in your favor. That's the freedom that discipline gives you. Not the freedom to do whatever you want, but the freedom from the anxiety and stress that comes from undisciplined trading. Let me leave you with this. The market does not care about your hopes. It does not care about your fears. It does not care about your dreams or your bills or your ego. The market simply reflects back to you the quality of your decisions. And the quality of your decisions is determined by your discipline. Not occasionally, not when it's convenient, but consistently, every single trade. If you take nothing else from what I've shared with you today, remember this. You already know enough to succeed. The question is not what you know. The question is whether you can consistently do what you know. And that is entirely a question of discipline. Trading reveals who you are. It shows you your impatience, your greed, your fear, your need to be right, your inability to accept uncertainty. These things exist in you whether you trade or not. But trading forces you to confront them. And if you're willing to do that work, if you're willing to be honest with yourself, if you're willing to build the discipline required to execute consistently, trading will change your life. Not because of the money, though the money will come, but because of who you become in the process. A person who can remain calm under pressure. A person who can accept what they cannot control. A person who can execute their plan regardless of their emotions. That person is free. Free from the anxiety that plagues most traders. Free from the constant cycle of hope and fear. Free to simply be present with what is and respond appropriately. That's what discipline gives you. And that's what I hope you'll pursue, not just in trading, but in every area of your life. Because the same principles apply everywhere. Follow your rules. Accept uncertainty. Think in probabilities. Be honest with yourself. And trust the process. Do this, and you will succeed. Not because I said so, but because the market rewards discipline. Always has, always will. Thank you for listening. And I hope this helps you on your journey.